Hi, everybody. This is Bernadette. Thank you so much for listening today. It's a great day. It's Friday already, and I'm looking forward to the weekend. It was such a busy day, but also the sun is shining very much. Of course, I'm in Barcelona, and I don't know where you're listening from, but I hope in any way to give you a little bit sunshine in the weeks to come. But for me, promise, believe me, the spring is on its way. So today I have a great guest, and I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are finding this podcast really helpful because we have a lot of people who are business owners. And I know for sure that one of the things business owners always looking for is ways how they can talk to buyers, to the people who want to get their product in the stores or in the warehouses. Well, today I'm talking to Ivar Leimbach. He's original from Germany, but now he's in Budapest. And he's a sales director of Stamegna Retail. And we work with them because they have great events in different cities. He's probably going to tell you all about it. But Ivar himself is a very inspiring sales director. He also have a lot of experience in corporate sales, and he's going to tell us more about this events they're having. It's something different. It's all about having suppliers and buyers connected in an event. So everybody who's interested to have their business grow, stay tuned because this can help you. And also it's very interesting for people who are looking for a challenge, for an opportunity to see if they can have find new businesses or expand, have something to offer, because Ivar is also on our website, and you can reach him. You never know what this podcast can bring you today. So for everybody, he's here today. Hi, Ivar. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Hi, Benedette. Thanks for having me. I'm fine, but I'm also a little bit excited. It's exciting.
It is. I think it's going to be a great podcast because I really love your story, and also the concept you're working in. I think you can tell a lot to our listeners, and it will really help them. So I just had my introduction, and I'm telling the listeners that you are working in Stamina Retail Management. I'm trying to say it the best way, but what can I say? And to me, that was such an amazing concept. And I really think there are a lot of listeners, entrepreneurs, business owners who can help. We can help with this concept. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the concept you're having with suppliers and buyers?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you're right. Not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people know how we do these things and what our role exactly is. So at the core of it, Stamegna Retail Management is an event facilitator, and we're also a middleman. We're a middleman between buyers and suppliers, and we're trying to bring them together in live events, which are personal and where they have 20 minutes to talk about a certain product and a business opportunity together. And I think the core of the concept, I would say, is really to listen to both of them, to the buyers that we have, like long-standing, year-long, trusted relationships with, and they tell us exactly what they're looking to source at a certain time in a certain region. And we take this knowledge and this information and bring it to the suppliers, manufacturers of goods. For us, the food category is very important, and the health and beauty care category. And we bring this knowledge to them and can tell them, look, these buyers are looking to source your product category. Would you like to meet them at our event in like the next one is going to be in Budapest. Before that, there was one in Milan. And if it fits for them, if they can see the opportunity, if we can convince them that this can replace a lot of their own marketing efforts that take a lot of time or a lot of the uncertainty that comes with attending a big trade show, then they can attend.
That sounds really interesting. Just to be short, so if I'm a supplier, I have a product I'm very proud of, and I want a store to sell it. Now, I remember I once wrote a book long time ago, believe me, but I remember that I had to do so much to get that somewhere to somebody, a store to sell it. But you're telling me now that if you are a supplier and you are met the categories you having, like the health and the beauty, the food, etc., then you can just sign up and you take care that we meet the best buyers. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're always trying to find a good mix of potential buyers for startup brands, for more established ones. And it's not simply to go with the biggest ones. It's not so easy to just say, we need the Auchans, we need the Tesco's, the Carrefours, and the Reves for Germany, for example, in terms of supermarkets. They are niche players, they are distributors, they are more specialized retail brands that might be more accommodating for your product. So it's important for us to always have a mixture at our events. You can look for certain names, but you can also trust us to trust into our consulting when we say there is a great opportunity for you in this country to work with this retail chain that you might never heard of.
So that sounds really personal as well. So for example, I mean, of course, if you have your own product, that's kind of your baby, right? You're very proud of it. And so if I put that in your hands, you really are going, very personally take care that I'm talking to the buyer, which is a great fit with my product, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, your product will never leave your hands. It always will stick with you, and you will always be the ambassador for your product at our event as well, of course. But what we're trying to do, and the ultimate goal is that we're going to have a very productive day with up to 20 meetings where you can meet buyers all across the region. This might be Europe, this might be the Middle Eastern region, and none of these meetings is a waste of time. All of these are productive because the categories match, and what you're producing is what they are looking for. This is what we want to guarantee you.
Are there some? Can you name some buyers with a big name? I just heard you say Carrefour, which I mean everybody knows in Europe, right?
Yes, of course.
But so if for example, the beauty industry, which is a big part of our luxury target audience, so can you name some name from well-known buyers who visit your events?
Yes, of course. I mean, like it goes basically in two directions. We have the mass market chains, the ones from Germany, for example, DM or Rossmann, which have franchises all over Europe, and then you have more luxury retailers, online retailers, but also physical like Sephora and Notino, who were present at the last event in Milan. And these are, of course, big drivers for us. Everybody wants to meet them ultimately, but it's sometimes I think there is a little bit of a misconception. I live in Hungary, and something that I've observed is the different role that, for example, a company like DM has in Hungary. When you go to DM in Germany, that's your general drugstore where you find lots of mass market items. But if you go to Hungary, then DM is really the only company that can import luxury goods or even like prestige products at scale. So the role is a little bit different, I think, here.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the most interesting thing of the concept from you, because you like to go to other countries, but you really don't know exactly what kind of buyers you should meet or what kind of stores would be a great fit of your product. And I think that makes it so much easier. You just show up and there is a buyer on your table, and and they have the time to listen to you. That's Amazing, really. I think that's a great concept for a lot of listeners. Now, I was wondering, I mean, if I would go to one of your events to meet my buyers, are you also offering anything to help me with, for example, a contract with that buyer, or I mean, or with special rules in that country?
So a part of it, part of the preparation is looking into just certificates that you would need to export into a certain region. And then, of course, if we're going, for example, to Dubai, which we're going to do in May, then there are certain different rules apply, especially for, different product lines that are hard to export to that region. And there's just a lot of experience on our part that we can help you with. When it comes to the meeting itself, that's where we don't interfere. So that is completely private. It's between the buyer and the supplier. And I think most of them want to have it that way. So at the point where they met and it's clear that it can be a productive meeting, we are basically out, but we also provide you with the contact details and to make sure that, like the follow-ups are going to arrive at the target.
So you just mentioned Dubai, but I see that you also in Miami, for example, which are two different continents from us, Europe, right? So I can imagine that it's not even, I don't know if that's true, but from like the health kind of perspective or even food, I remember that it's very hard to get it on the market in another continent, also because there are rules if they are even allowed to be on that market.
Yes.
That's all up to the supplier themselves or not. It's not something that I can
No,
imagine if you're a buyer and you get there and then you have like 5 different products which are not allowed in the United States, that you think, hey, I'm showing up and what's
yes.
this?
Like, for example, thank you for mentioning our event in Miami that's coming up, because we know that we have to take a little bit of a different approach. If we have European suppliers selling in Europe, that's an easy task. We can just throw them in the meeting room and they know what to do. But of course, when we're going to the US, that's a different animal, because there are different certificates that you need. Of course, you need different approvals. We have a consulting firm that's working with us, and also the market is a completely different one in the United States. It's so much more consolidated. You're going to have to work and prepare for huge chains that like shadow everything that's happening in Europe. So that's why we're working with a consultancy firm that has long experience in consulting European suppliers and suppliers from all over the world. And if you're basically, let's say, embarking on the journey, if you want to export to the US, then we're going to take you with us, provide you with the consulting, and make sure that these meetings count really.
Really, right. But I think a lot of our listeners and a lot of entrepreneurs are actually waiting for such an opportunity to be seen in something like USA. I think that's really great. Are you expanding? Is Stamegna expanding in other countries, or do you want to go on like on a global scale? Like I can imagine the Far East, or I can imagine Australia, even Africa. Maybe I don't know if that's an option, but is that a goal from Stamegna?
So let's say for the Far East and also for America, it's basically the goal now to go back there, because of course you can imagine, as an event facilitator, COVID was a big hit for the company. We moved everything to virtual, like pretty much anyone. And but of course the consensus is that virtual doesn't really work. Nobody wants to do it. People want to meet face to face to do business and to gauge really if like, this is always the starting point of a business relationship, and you have to meet someone to know if it's worth your time, if it's worth your effort to continue working on such a business relationship. That's why it's so valuable. So we have an event planned in Miami. We also have a food event planned in Bangkok for November next year. And of course, we're a little bit excited, expanding there again. But if you're talking about expansion, right now we're doing everything from our Budapest office. But one thing that we're trying to do is to bring on board agents that have a little bit better expertise in certain markets. And I'm always open to be approached. I'm sure many of your listeners are avid networkers in their markets. So if you think that is something that you can bring to your peers in your region, then that is actually something that we're looking for. So when we're talking about expansion, then it's an agency model that we're pursuing, yes.
I think it might be very interesting for some listeners, and also everybody knows that when we are uploading a podcast, your name, your bio, your company, but also the way to reach you is on our website. So stay tuned till the end of this podcast, so we can tell you where you can reach Ivar, and you can see if that's something for you. And yeah, that would be great. A great opportunity, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I would be really happy to make some new contacts through this and hear your story.
And just one more thing. I think now a lot of listeners think, okay, I'm a supplier, I have something, and the question popping in their mind would be, so how much does it cost? I'm just saying, like, what are we thinking on? Is it something which is approachable for everybody, or we say no, you have to be a big company, or you have to be on the market for certain years. So can you tell me a little bit about the profile of people who are approaching, and a little bit just a direction of price?
Yes, of course. I mean, like the question that you're asking, I've never heard it before. It's so uncommon. What does it cost? No, of course, everybody's interested to see how does it compare to what they're doing otherwise, and how much does the participation cost? And I think it compares to one of the bigger trade shows. If you're looking at the efforts it takes you to travel there for a couple of days, maybe with one or two or maybe even three people, that's where we can be a little bit cheaper. I think in terms of just money, it's always going to be less than your own marketing efforts spreading over months on end. But really, when you're asking for the profile, I would say that it's companies that are already exporting or looking to export, who have any sort of marketing budget that goes into events. I think we're happy to take.
Just out of my mind, it's 15,000 or more, something like that.
It's less.
All together, with the hotel and the flight, etc.
So what you're getting is when you're participating, you're getting the accommodation in a hotel. It's a 4 or 5 star luxury hotel, depending on what's available, really. What we need is a big ballroom because we like the buzzy atmosphere of, like a lot of people talking, and a lot of the stands, a lot of the tables and marketing material being seen throughout the day. So that's why we want to do it in a ballroom where everybody is basically together and the ways are short. So the accommodation is included. There are the meals, there's a networking event on the day before. And then really on the actual event day where the meetings happen, you have to think of it as your most productive trade show day that you can ever experience, because from the morning to the afternoon, buyers are lining up at your booth and they all want to look into your product category.
And I also think, from experience, it's the best way to be successful. I think if you have like 1 or 2 buyers just from this event, it probably have the cost for years of what you're spending anyway. So I think it's a great way to actually make a short term to success. I mean, your buyer is there on your table. You don't have to.
It's a shortcut, really.
It's a shortcut, really. And I think, I would definitely recommend people to put it in your marketing budget for this year or next year, because I think it's a great concept. I really like it a lot. Now, of course, there is my question, and you should see that coming. But is this a great format for example, for luxury suppliers? Think of accessories, for example. There's such a big market for people who are having jewelry or having bags or having shoes or even having fashion. I think all the places where you go, like Miami, Dubai, we work in these places, and it's such a big industry. There are a lot of places who would love to be on these markets. Is this something that I don't know, maybe we can do that together? You just like one time, just make a special, Stamegna Retail Management with EuropeanLife Business and Luxury, and then together we make such an event. Is that something we could talk about?
Well, yes, it's definitely imaginable, and I think it would work in that segment as well, as long as we're keeping it to business discussions, and it's about bringing a brand on board or distributing something, and it's not going to the consumers, because I think the consumers don't like the business atmosphere that much, and they want to have a little bit more exclusive. So any business idea and proposition that you can discuss within 20 minutes has a good home at our event. And to be fair, I think especially in the health and beauty care, we're touching on it. There are some luxury items that you would usually not find in a normal boutique. So we're like the fringes. On the fringes, I think we're touching into the luxury segment. But
no,
as
I
long
think
as
so
it's
too. Yeah. And I think
FMCG, I think it can definitely work.
Yeah, and we are also, we are business and luxury. That's where we stand for, and also the combination. So we definitely B2B, first of all. But second, it's also a group who finds it very hard to sometimes to think big. So for example, I'm a very global person. So I would say right away, like, hey, you have to go expand, you have to go to the big brands, to the big stores. And they sometimes find that hard. And I think this concept is so easy to approach. It's so
what region are you most interested in?
I think if it's up to Europe, I would say, you can have one place where we have. Europe is so small. You have an hour plane, you are there. So I would make it very international right away. To pick a place in Europe, even Budapest would do for me. And we are a media agency, so we do the promotion. We have 8 million reach. We have a lot of people who are listening, who are working with us. So I would say let's go all to Budapest and have it there. But if it's go up to glamour and more luxury, we are based in Barcelona. It's doing very good with the luxury. Would love to have it here. We know so many agencies and so many. We do events as well, so we bring a lot to the table, and of course we have the suppliers mostly also. So it might be something we can discuss and see what's it. But to be honest, we also in Dubai, which I like, Miami, which I like, and we actually recently had a luxury week in Bangkok, in Phuket, in Thailand. So we can think about that. I think it's an industry which is in all continents are very, very big, huge. So yeah.
So that's where the events always are, regional. When we, for example, have something in Dubai, we're not going to invite buyers from Europe. We're only going to invite buyers from that region, from the GCC region. We have very good contacts there. And Europe, I think that's where we are, where it would be the easiest to expand the categories, because we have such a big variety of contacts. And I'm happy to discuss that.
I probably fly in to Dubai in March, because we are working with the boat show, Dubai Boat Show, and also about World Art Dubai. So I thought I'm going to give it a flight. But I know for sure that most of the suppliers, most of the luxury owners want to be in Dubai, want to go there. They want to, come on, it's a market. If you say Dubai, it's like, wow, you're in Dubai. Yeah, I can understand that. So we can think about it. But yeah, that would be nice. Also, for all the listeners, keep your eyes open. I would definitely enthusiastic about that concept. We have to chat about it in another time, in another place. But if we keep it on the table, would love to talk to you about a little bit more. Okay, I have just one more question. I would like to see if you have some tips. You know the markets, you know the buyer and the suppliers. Do you have some tips for our listeners if they are just starting to get their product in the store? Of course, we said it's a shortcut. You can talk to the buyers right away. Are there any other ways to do this, or are there any ways to make it more likely to success?
I think what works best also on our events is really to be able to present the whole concept of the brand and the product, and not just come there to try and sell 1 or 2 containers of your product to a retailer, but also, like convince them how this will help your brand, how you will grow your brand with marketing and everything. So that it becomes clear that they can also benefit as the platform for your product from your fame.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're going. I see where you're going. Yeah.
So, like we have the big brands, and if you're going to this is really some insight that I collected from my discussions with the buyers. But imagine you're a well-established online platform, and everybody wants to work with you. I think the separation that you're making, and that's what I heard, is this one brand, is this producer just looking to get reach through me, or am I also going to benefit from what they're having in store for their own brand?
Right. Yeah. I think yeah, that you're right. I also think that for both parties it would be very interesting to see what's the reach, how can this help me to expand in any way, and
yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one is really just patience, because the industry works in cycles, and they're not going to buy from you before their contract with somebody else is up, or before they're changing out their shelves. It's sometimes just time.
That's a hard one, Ivar, because a lot of them don't have the patience or don't have the time. But I can see that this whole podcast is going to help them. There's a lot of work to do, but I think right now they understand maybe more. They have some ideas how to get closer to the buyers and how to get their product in the best stores, and see how they can grow that way. So thank you for your information. I thought it was very, very interesting. I know for sure that a lot of the listeners learned today, but also might be interesting to be in touch with you and see how you can cooperate in any way. So for all the listeners, if you want to know more, if you have questions, go to our website, and you can see the podcast from Ivar and Stamegna Retail Management, and see also their events on the website, so you can reach them. Now, if you have questions for us, please, you can write us on podcast@EuropeanLifeMedia.com, or go to our website and find us. And we always like to receive your questions and see if we can help you to in entrepreneurship and to be successful in any way on a global scale. So Ivar, thank you so much for being here today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone for listening.
You're welcome. And for all the listeners, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you will be again join us next week. It will be a great podcast because I'm going to be there with Ivana, and I know all you do enjoy that a lot. So I hope to see you next week. And for now, I wish you a very nice weekend. Bye. Thank you for listening today. Please subscribe and share this podcast. Do you have a question or a story to share? Please find us at podcast@EuropeanLifeMedia.com.